Hi, Steve Cooper, Rank Success, and another short video in relation to the topic of police promotion, especially for candidates going for sergeant and inspector, this particular video. And the reason I've thought about this video today is because, and I have, forgive me if I've kind of covered this and I have across various podcasts and YouTube videos, but this one's bespoke to frameworks. And the reason I've decided to do this short video is because I try and stay in touch from time to time. I'm in touch with lots and lots of candidates throughout the year through coaching sessions, one-to-ones, answering queries, with them downloading my digital toolkits, listening to my podcast, free blogs, and then perhaps asking some bespoke questions that are meaningful to them within the context of their own force process. So generally, for most forces at the moment, they're using the competency and values framework. And the reason I started thinking about this video was because I try and stay up to date, as I've said, with different processes in different forces at different times for different ranks, and they do change, and you're going to get into a bit of a theme there because I was listening to or watching taking part in a WeCops debate. So for those of you that are unaware, WeCops is a group of police officers focused around CPD in policing and discussing various topics from time to time on Twitter, and occasionally so the hashtag is #WeCops, and it's a discussion thread, and the discussions are generally chaired by somebody prominent in that subject, in that area, in that topic. And the one that they did on the Wednesday the 8th of December was in relation to police promotion. Now, it was a long time coming, and it was one that I think it trended on Twitter. It was very popular, and there was a lot of ground covered. And the thing that I found really interesting was the kind of summary that was released afterwards, and I've got it here because I printed it off, and it's actually really interesting because one of the things that I've covered in previous blogs, when people say to me, "Oh, Steve, our promotion system, our promotion selection process has changed this year. It's different to what it was last year, and it's different to what it was the year before." And I just summarise that, perhaps a bit not nonchalantly or cynically, as plus ça change. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And what I mean by that is, I can recall a long time ago there being frameworks in place, and there would be, wouldn't there? Because all a framework is really is a list of desired behaviours, in this case in the context of 21st century policing, and values. So, the CVF, the Competency and Values Framework, which is used by most forces, is very much a values-based promotion selection system. Values are at the heart of it. Same with recruitment. So very much values-based decision-making in the NDM, and so the National Decision Model. And so values-based is really important at the moment. But with the framework, the CVF, lots of cops, and it emerged also in this WeCops debate, that they're unhappy with it. They don't like it. It doesn't fit. It's not a good fit. And yet it is the predominant framework, if you like, from the College of Policing. And it talks about 6 competencies, and you can look at other videos that I've done around those. There's 6 competencies, 4 stated values, although I would always encourage you to mix and match those values with your own, and 1 level. Now, people often say it's not 1 level, Steve, it says it's 3. You can read what you want from the College of Policing, provide about 18 pages of information, and you can read that if you like, but I summarise it in my downloadable guides in my own way, as I would do and as I have done other promotion frameworks. So this is where I'm coming at this from. A framework is just a framework. Now, you can spend your valuable time, if you want to, and your energy criticising it, pointing out its shortcomings, saying there should be more of this and more of the other. At the heart of it is just a framework. So just whipping back in time a little while ago, in 2014, there was the death of a framework called the Integrated Competency Framework, which was used in policing. And I'm going to take a punt and say I think it's still being used for some police staff promotion processes. It certainly was a couple of years ago. But the integrated competency framework, and I wrote a blog called "The ICF is Dead, Long Live the ICF," and the analogy there is obviously with the death of a member of royal families, a member of the monarchy. Generally the saying is, the king is dead or the queen is dead, long live the king, long live the queen. It's a sign of that captures continuity of power, if you like. So the ICF is dead, long live the ICF. Great. What replaced it? Well, in this case it was the PPF, and that's the Policing Professional Framework, which was the main framework that came in. Again, that was 6 personal qualities, as they call it there, where things were a little bit clearer. In my view, my things were a little bit clearer. Decision making was what it says on the tin. Decision making. Whereas now the waters are muddied a little bit with "we take ownership" or "we are analytical," both of which are good competencies to kind of use evidence of decision making within. And they hint and allude to it, but it's almost like you've got to go on a hunt through it. It almost seems like a test itself, the CVF. I did write a criticism of the CVF myself in the early days, and from that point of view, it was very much around some of the things they expect of candidates. And I shall probably do a separate video on that, because there were some things I believe that are described in the CVF that some people in policing cannot demonstrate. And I'm not going to digress, I'll come back to that one, I think. But this blog I did a while back on 2 competencies, the ICF and the PPF were actually being used together in one force. So people were being tested for applications and interviews on 2 separate systems, on 2 separate competencies. And I remember thinking at the time that was unfair to candidates. It is what it is, and that's the challenge, and you've just got to learn the rules and play them better than anyone else, as Einstein said. But it didn't seem to be fair to me. But now, the more I think about it, the more I reflect on all the experiences I've had and all the people that have been successful that I've worked with, that have gone through different processes and different frameworks, I'm coming back to thinking now, particularly in like this week ops debate, and I'll talk more about that in a minute, that, if there's going to be a review, which there is, and if there are going to be some reforms, which there are accordingly, so the College of Policing are going to make some recommendations for changes, particularly for sergeant and inspector. If that's going to happen, I think there is room, there is scope for things like, as North Yorkshire are doing at the moment, they do a competency-based application to get through to an interview, but the interview itself is strengths-based, and I quite like that. I think that's more suited to cops. I think you've got the fairness of the competency to draw out in the application side of it. So tell us why you think you should be promoted, or give us an example of each of these competencies, or any mix and match of them. Some evidence, some operational evidence. Now, whether that's linked to PDR or not, and that varies massively across forces, is a side issue. But I think to be able to then walk into a strengths-based interview where things, and I've done a blog on those, so have a look at my blogs, or I might have blogged about that one on Police Hour. I'll try and put the link below. Strengths-based interviews seem a little bit, fairer. I mean, if you can't walk in and have a meaningful conversation around your strengths, then maybe you're not ready for promotion just yet. So things like what inspires you? If you don't come alive and explode with energy and drive and determination and enthusiasm, people are going to be a little bit underwhelmed if you can't respond to that. So, what inspires you is a strengths-based question. And generally, strengths-based questions come at you a bit quicker. So strengths-based interviews a bit, rat-tat-tat-tat. You haven't really got time to think, but they can make an assessment about whether you are informed, up-to-date, prepared, and ready for promotion. From that, so you've got 2 different ways of doing it there. So I'm more coming back to the grounds that you can try 2 different systems. I'm not sure how strengths based interviews link to the CVF, or if they do, and there's nothing wrong with them being separate. But the PPF came out after the ICF, very shortly afterwards, and loads of cops got promoted. My guides used to be about PPF at the time. They're now about, so they now cover the PPF. Then there was so the Met had their own processes, different frameworks, and that was a bit like you know, at the time it was a bit like, you know, the goalposts are here, they're there, they're everywhere. So they had the Metropolitan Leadership Framework. I think the MPF, Metropolitan Performance Framework, was before that. They've now got the CVF, the Competency and Values Framework. And people, you know, in my experience, from my narrow experience working with candidates who achieved success, it was frustrating. It was really, really frustrating. So the fact that there are frameworks in place is not a surprise. The CVF is generally the one used by most forces. Now it's also used by Northern Ireland, and I think, I'm not sure whether An Garda Síochána in Ireland use it, but they'll use something very similar. And Police Scotland definitely use the CVF. But again, there's this issue of forces taking the CVF and rebranding it, reshaping it in their own way, if you like, which of course they're free to do and put their own emphasis on whatever they want to do. The point being is, for me, I'm always trying to surf ahead of the process, whatever it looks like, wherever it is, in whichever force, because I want to make sure that when I update my master digital guides, that they reflect the changes in those processes. And you know, the feedback you see, the feedback you get is from cops who have been through it recently, whatever that process is, and give recent feedback in relation to those tests. And that's how I try and morph those outcomes, that feedback, and those comments into the products, so that they're always current and topical. So just in relation to this WeCops one, I mean, it's really, I'll just to finish, the drivers, the National Police Chiefs Council have asked the College of Policing to review the efficiency of national promotion processes for sergeants and inspectors. There's leadership work ongoing already by the college, and it supplements and complements that. They're looking to develop an end-to-end strategy for leadership development, promotion and progression in the police service. Well, good luck with that, because, you know, it's a challenge, and you know, I wish you all the best with it. As part of the broader work, they've put in place a wider ranging review in order to ensure that promotion processes for sergeants and inspectors remain fit for purpose. In light of the additional demand for effective supervisors created by the 20,000 uplift programme, so there will, for those of you interested in going for promotion, there may well be more opportunities because of that uplift. To consult with the service on the future role of talent development initiatives in policing, specifically national fast track and direct entry programs, and certainly fast track. You can have a look at a couple of the blogs I've done on fast track with evidence and feedback from successful candidates. It doesn't matter what the process is, it doesn't matter what the framework is. Let's get to grips with it, let's have a look what it involves, and then work out a path, a working strategy, if you like, from the NDM. Achieve an ongoing aim of improving the consistency, efficiency and effectiveness of the overall framework for promotion in policing, and introducing reforms where required. So there's a specific rationale by the College of Policing for doing that, and their report, when it's complete, it says here, is likely to make recommendations on short and longer term reforms of current processes for promotion to sergeant inspector. So if you're watching this now and you're going for promotion in 2022, and I know some of you have got boards after Christmas in January, February, you know, put the effort in now before any frameworks change. Nothing happens generally very quickly. It's normally a lot of trumpeting and announcements, and then kind of adoption by forces over a period of time. But if you've got processes coming up quickly, then kind of focusing on it. The last bit here around the recommendations, the development of a revised strategy for delivery of a national fast track and direct entry programs, and the development of a new promotion framework for ranks beyond inspector up to chief superintendent. So currently sergeant to chief inspector is assessed at CVF level 2, although that varies in different forces, so a mix and match of levels, but certainly for chief inspector and above, it's CVF level 3. In some forces over chief inspector, it's definitely CVF level 3. Executive kind of competencies on the CVF, and that's the same for fast track as things stand at the moment, except that they're assessing your potential there, not necessarily your evidence. So that was a bit of a whistle stop tour really around how things are at the moment, how they were in the past, and where things might move to in the future. I hope that was helpful in terms of some food for thought and insights, and I will be back with another video shortly. don't forget you can download a digital toolkit, a video recorded masterclass, 4 hours with me, suited, booted, with my serious head on. And until we see each other again, stay safe, and I wish you all the best.